If someone was to ask me now sort of what I do, I would say I'm a student of human dignity. I'm interested in really exploring the kind of expressions, the most clandestine expressions of human dignity in the most abject and horrible circumstances. That's what interests me. How is it that people retain dignity and preserve the dignity of one another? You notice that children hate to see their parents humiliated. I remember an experience when I was a kid. You know, I used to get in a fair bit of trouble at school. The principal called my folks in one day, and in front of me, and I'm sitting there, and the principal, like my dad went to grade 5, and then he joined the military and went, you know, well, not right then, but then he got out of school, and then later he joined the military, never went back to school. My mom went to grade 6. You know, they were intimidated by professionals. So the principal hauls, you know, them and me into the office, and in front of me starts talking down to my parents, like they're stupid, you know what I mean, like they're stupid people. And I've never forgotten that. I bet most of you in the room, if I said, do you remember the first time you felt the red hot sting of humiliation? I bet you could tell me. Those are memorable moments. And I don't know about you, that moment has given me fuel, has given me energy for a long time, and it will continue to do so. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes out of humiliation comes commitment, you know, desire, energy. It doesn't cause commitment, desire, energy, but we can respond to humiliation with that kind of energy. So I'm interested in dignity. And I think dignity basically is right at the center of human life. We're all working to preserve and reassert dignity all the time. So if you're, you know, for example, you're out shopping for groceries. Recent example for me, I'm second in line. There's a woman in front of me who is looking a little bit irritated with the person who's processing the food order and putting things in bags. And she's sort of rushing things across, you know, in front of the clerk like this, like, oh, hurry up. And I'm standing right behind. So what happens in that moment is so interesting. You know, that the clerk knows that I'm there, and I know that she knows that I'm there, and she knows that I know that she knows that I'm there. So what she does, she just quickly does this. And I know she's saying, I got this. I see you. I'm dealing with it. And my job then is to just let her do her thing and just stand there and watch. Because she wants me to stand there and watch and be a witness to see it. But she doesn't want me to intervene because that could go badly for her and her job, or could make the situation worse. So we negotiate dignity instantaneously. Bang. Just the flip of an eye. And you will have noticed also that violence is often committed in just the flip of an eye, right? It's so quick. If you've been with a partner who's abusive for 25 years, you know that if he just gives you one of these, you know you're going to get it when you get home. So it doesn't take much. A lot of what we're dealing with is happening rapidly on a micro level, quicker than simple reaction time. It's going on, and dignity is like that. A good example that I've sometimes used is, you know, imagine this scenario. You've gone to an art gallery. You've got some nice clothes on. You know, you're getting kind of, you're trying to look your best. You're at an art gallery. You're having some Prosecco. You know what I mean? You're trying to, you know, be in polite company. You're chatting with people about the art. You don't know frickin' anything about art. You're not even really that interested, but you're at the art gallery and it's kind of cool. And so you're with 5 or 6 people that you don't know. And then, you know, you're being polite. It's polite company. You don't know them. And then suddenly, unexpectedly, out of nowhere, someone in your group loudly farts. Boom. It's so interesting what happens in that moment. Like, because it's not like when you're in the van with your kids and you're on holidays. You know, somebody farts, you might comment on the quality of the fart. There could be retaliatory farting. There could be all kinds of things happen. Or it's not like if you're with your mates where it's like, oh, dude, like, you know, it's not like that kind of thing. This is polite company. Probably none of you have ever been in a situation like this, but I study these kinds of situations. I go to art galleries and hang out. You know, kind of watching. It's a bit of an odd thing to do, but, you know, I'm a social scientist. What can I say? In that moment, one person loudly farts. It's loud enough that everybody knows who did it. There's one farter and like 5 fartees. So you're all standing there in a group. What happens immediately? Put yourself in that. What happens immediately when there is that fart? What do people do? Skill testing question. Do you immediately all look at the farter? Whoa! You don't do that. Why? You don't want to out the farter. That would be humiliating the farter. You want, hey? And do you look at each other? No, because you don't look at each other because you would laugh. So you have to look nowhere. And we're really good at looking nowhere. So you avoid eye contact because you're waiting for a crucial piece of information from the perpetrator. And what is the information you're waiting for? Are they going to say, excuse me? Are they going to admit that they were the farter and say, excuse me? If they do that, excuse me, then everyone goes, oh, that's right. we kind of like it's good, because some of us can identify with having been in that position. What if the person doesn't say, excuse me? There's about, on average, because I've studied this, there's about 4/10 of a second in which the person has to say, oh, excuse me. And after that, the game changes. Because 2 or 3 seconds later, you can't come back into the conversation and go, oh, excuse me, you know that fart? That was me. Because then you're like, they have the double humiliation of having committed the fart and then denied it. So you can't really do that. So if the person decides they're not going to admit it, what happens? The conversation goes on. Like a flock of birds lifting off a remote lake, we disappear the fart in one beautiful collective motion. It's so beautiful to watch. It is like this collective activity of protecting the dignity of the farter. Nobody went to Disappearing Farts 101 at the local college. We all just learned this stuff. And isn't that so beautiful when you think about it? That is a spiritual moment, man, right there. Because we are protecting one another's dignity, and we are really good at it. All forms of violence are a humiliation of dignity. And the perpetrator is often not the person who will restore dignity to the victim, right? They're not going to get an adequate apology. They're not going to get an adequate acknowledgement. So that's where we come in. Our job is to recognize and acknowledge and uphold the dignity of the person. So one of the things that means is we don't go immediately to advice giving, because when you give a person advice, you're telling them they're not competent enough to have thought about it themselves. It's a humiliation of dignity. So we have to be really careful about our practices, right? So a dignifying practice is, instead of asking advice, or giving advice, we ask, wow, that was a hard situation. How did you respond? What did you do? And then we begin to learn about their pre-existing competency, their pre-existing skill and awareness, their pre-existing efforts to be safe. We tap into their pre-existing dignity, spirituality, capacity. That's what we're looking for. That's the flame of dignity. That's what we want to uphold.